Welcome to Chasing Impact, Not Sales, where heart meets hustle, strategy meets service, and selling feels good again. I'm your host, Mandy Minatello. Let's go. Hey, welcome back to Chasing Impact, Not Sales podcast. I'm Mandy Minatello, and I'm excited to deal with the issue of Battle of the Sexes this week. I love a good battle of the sexes, but this isn't going to be a debate. This isn't going to be a one is better than the other. What I really want to do is take a deep dive into the industry of sales as a traditionally male dominated industry. We're going to take a look at some data. We're going to take a look at some statistics, and I want to turn you on to some really interesting facts and see if by the end of this podcast, you might have a different perspective. So let's get into it, right? Any good salesperson also has to recognize that you have to have a like or at least an openness to data tracking and data analysis. Okay, so I have been called a data geek before, and I own that. So we're going to go into a little bit of the rabbit hole of the data surrounding this quote unquote fact, right? That sales as an industry is male dominated. Okay, so I wanted to bring the very, very most up-to-date data, and I hate nothing more than when somebody is presenting data that is old as fresh and new. So literally this morning, I was gathering these numbers just to solidify this conversation, right? So I wanted to see, as of today, what is the actual ratio of males to females in the sales industry? And what I found as I was data geeking out this morning was super interesting, but not surprising at all. What I found is when looking into the ratio, male to female, of sales team members, 52% of sales team members are actually female. So when we look at members of sales teams, they're slightly dominant female, which for a moment makes you go, wait a minute, that's not what I've always heard. But I wanted to take it a step further. When I looked into ratio male to female of sales leadership, not sales team members, but sales leadership, meaning sales managers, sales specialists, CSOs, there the ratio looks very, very different. The average is 66% male, 33% female. Some reports were showing for sales managers as high as 76% male. So while general level sales teams are slightly female dominant, actually, when you look at senior level, so we're looking at management level roles, they're heavily male dominated. And I wanted to look at why that would be. If it's a quote unquote male dominated industry, then shouldn't you just see males across the board? So why? And that's what we're going to get into today. I have always proposed. I've been on podcasts and I've shared from stage before. So this isn't a new thought or theory, but I've always proposed that women are actually more naturally qualified for sales roles, but less likely to own that skill set. what I want to take a pause for a minute here is to point out that this is not a debate. Males are absolutely good at sales. I am not arguing that at all. Right? I don't argue that that people in these roles, regardless of gender, deserve to be in these roles because they are good at what they do. What I want is that this entire industry as a whole rise to the value and the abilities to own your badassery and kill it in every aspect of what you do. And that goes for male or female, right? So this isn't, although I titled this the battle of the sexes, it is absolutely not a battle. What I want is to take a few minutes to explore why women aren't owning that which comes naturally to them. I want to explore why women aren't claiming those management roles, those specialist roles, knowing that it is a natural born, biologically ingrained skill set that we are given. And that's what I want to look at. I want to look at that why and come to some conclusions here. So let's look at some female dominated industries. Traditionally, when you're thinking of industries that have the vast majority female, we see healthcare, we see education, we see this in retail, we see this across nonprofit opportunities. I wanted to throw in there prostitution as well, but I really don't want to go there. But hey, it fits, right? So these are female traditionally, and not just traditionally, because again, I looked at data today. These industries are still, as of today, primarily female. Also, if you were to categorize these industries, they all fall under the category of service. They're service-based industries. Why are women succeeding at these industries? Women are biologically built for service. We have natural capabilities that lend to excelling in service-based industries. And what are some of those things? Well, not only are we able to follow that, what they call the maternal instinct or, the child rearing instinct, right? But let's look at that in terms of a little bit more detail. Women have a natural ability to see long-term benefits from short-term decision making. They can see that if I do this right now, then in a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, it's going to make this kind of a impact. And that's what we do in sales, is we chase impact, not transaction. Women are able to then take that longevity of vision and illustrate it in terms of wants versus needs. And sometimes we have to put off what we want to fulfill what we need. In sales, we say sometimes we give them what they want because we know what they need. Women are also able to morph and speak the language of their client, customer, patient, student, fill in the blank of who they're working with, so that there is that mirroring, that feeling on the basis of the patient or the client or the customer or whatever, that feeling that they get me because they're mirroring me. Women naturally do that. It's really interesting if you speak to someone with a heavy accent that is different than your own. Watch a woman speak to someone like this, and they will start to morph their language, not completely, but it's natural to mirror the person they're talking to. And it's harder for a woman not to do that than to just continue. It's very, very interesting. But women are able to mirror what they reflect back what their customer, client, whoever needs, and just in their natural demeanor, women are biologically engineered to convey care, to look for what's in the best interest of those that they are serving, whether it be their patient, their client, their student, their child, their whatever. Now, I don't want to make a generalization like across the board, like 100% of women are all like this, but I'm just saying, like, traditionally, biologically, these are things that women are biologically, genetically engineered to do without having to study and learn and, grow in a skill that doesn't feel natural. So if we look at the things that women are naturally capable of, and then I want to kind of put the filter of sales on this. If you are a mother, a teacher, a nurse, a caregiver, a, a manager in retail, you follow the formula of service, which matches the formula of sales exactly. You're naturally doing this. And I've talked about this in a podcast before, but I'll go into it again a little bit. If you have children and you're a caring mother, you have that long-term vision of knowing the benefit for them of a healthy lifestyle, the benefit for them of growing up to be able to fulfill athletic goals or lifestyle goals or whatever. You want healthy children. You don't want them to be 18, 20 years old, and dealing with morbidity problems because of a decision that was made today. You can see the long-term benefits. Therefore, you understand the importance of conveying that they need to eat their vegetables, they need to drink water, they need to keep their bodies hydrated, they need to, look at make sure they're getting enough balance of the different nutrients, right? You see that long term, even though in the short term, what do they want? A lollipop and chicken nuggets or something, right? Like they want to live on Kool-Aid and nuggies. You know the benefit of that not being the right choice long term. Now translate that into industries, the healthcare industry. Oh my goodness, you know what's best for the patient. You convey that care. Why are they going to follow your procedure, your prescription? Because they feel that you know what's best for them in the long term. You know that the decisions that they make today are going to affect their lifestyle, or I'm sorry, not their lifestyle, their lifespan, right? So, like, it is extraordinarily important that you convey that, even if it is a short term decision that may not feel good today, but in the long term, it's going to be of benefit. We look at, teachers, and I've talked about this in my own teaching experience. Like, I'm sorry to tell you, but it is not fun to teach students who are not excited to learn whatever the subject matter is. I remember looking at like lesson plans and just being like, I'm bored. And I have to teach this. Like, oh my gosh. So I would spend the first bit of the class just engaging the kids and not convincing, I hate that word, but conveying to them that what they're about to learn is going to benefit them and giving them the why. Like, why do you need to learn this? When are you going to use this? What benefit is in it for you? We use terms in the sales and marketing industry like the ROI. What's the return on investment? You invest in this lesson and do a little homework, to practice. And what you're going to get will outweigh the investment that you're putting in, be that time, energy, effort, all the things. And teachers do this every day. Nurses do this every day. Mothers do this every day. And when I ask any of those people, are you a salesperson? Like, no. Oh my gosh, I'm terrible at sales. I could never be a salesperson. Therein lies the conundrum. Let's go back to the data. Remember, I said there are more women on sales teams, but more men in management roles? Why? Because inherently, women are freaking good at sales. We are. It's natural because we can see that long term. We know the benefits, we can convey the benefits, and we tell you, and you can see that we truly, truly care about the outcome. We care about you. It's true. But then you say, like, oh, are you a salesperson? Oh, no. We don't own it. The formula for sales mastery is to identify a problem, make sure that the person in front of you, whether you call it a client, a lead, a prospect, a customer, a whatever, recognizes that they do have this problem. Then you present a solution. You evaluate with them that the value of that solution, and you present the opportunity to grasp a hold of that solution and solve the problem. That model is basic sales 101. That model is basic service. That model is cross industry of everyone that I just laid out. Whether you're talking about sales roles, or you're talking about healthcare, or you're talking about education, or you're talking about retail, or prostitution, whatever, right? It comes down to the same formula. It comes down to problem, evaluation, solution, presented, close. So why are women naturally good at this, killing it in all of these other industries, and not stepping up to the plate and saying, I'm good at this, and I value myself, and you should too in this industry? All you got to do is layer on top the industry specific stuff. So you're going to layer on top KPI development and management. You're going to layer on top a data driven strategy for qualifying your potential clients. You're going to layer on top industry specific verbiage. And now you've got a badass sales leader. Nothing to do with the skill set. The stuff that you layer on top is the stuff you you learn, right? As you go along. That's the extra. But the natural born model, the natural born, whether it's a service model, sales model, whatever, because it's the same thing, the natural born stuff, women and men both can own. This doesn't have to be something where quote unquote, only men can do this. I would argue that women are biologically made for this, right? So own it. Male, female, whatever, in this industry, are you here to serve? Are you here to be of service? Are you here to solve problems? Do you naturally see the long-term benefit of a short-term decision? Do you naturally want to see people succeed and live their best lives? Own it. Rise up. Sales as an industry is not gender specific. Sales as a skill is not gender specific. This isn't a battle. We're all on the warfront, on the battlefield together, right? If that's what it wants to be. But I'm just here to encourage you to rise up. Own your value. Own what you bring to the table. And if you're happy being on a sales team, amazing. But don't shy away from the management roles. Don't shy away from the elevation because you feel like you're somehow not of value. Bring what you do naturally. Own it and kill it. Let's go. Thanks for listening to Chasing Impact, Not Sales. If this episode sparked something, share it, subscribe, and remember, real sales come from real service. Keep chasing impact.